What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday. Glad to have everybody along. Austin Stanley and Sam Phelan here on this Wednesday morning. And I don't think we expected to have a DeAndre Hopkins show this week, but here we are on June 28th. DeAndre Hopkins news continues to circulate around the NFL. And so there are new teams that are rumored to be in the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes to join the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. We'll talk about which one of those teams we think is the biggest threat to the Titans and the Patriots, who currently have those offers still out there. Well, reported, offers, air quotes, alleged offers, whatever you want to call that, financial conversations, financial situations that were discussed with the free agent wide receiver on his trips to Nashville and up in the Boston area with the Patriots a few weeks ago in the early part of June. But Sam, we're here to break down more of it and really ask who is the biggest threat for the Titans right now, and what is the better landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins. Then we'll talk about what is the Titans' strongest pro for trying to sign DeAndre Hopkins. If DeAndre Hopkins is old school, kind of like me, where I have a pro-con list organization via notebook at times whenever I come down to these situations like this. I know Zach's the same way. Where are the pros, where are the cons, and figure out your decision. What would the Titans' biggest pro be in DeAndre Hopkins' mind? So I think we're going to have fun with that. And then we've got throwing shade. And Sam, I told you last week that I had some things I needed to prepare for a shade. I have prepared that, and I am going to throw some shade. Holy AI is all I'm going to say by teasing the shade that I have later on in this show. So, Sam, let's get this thing rocking and rolling here.
Hey, let's do it here this morning. If you're joining us, make sure you share the show before we kick it off. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link and send it to somebody. Let them know that A to Z Sports is here for them. Let them know they can join the show and join the chat just like you. Whether that's a text message, whether that's a group chat, find the NFL fan or football fan in your life and introduce them to the A to Z Sports family. Retweet us at A to Z Sports on Twitter. That's a good way to spread the love as well. But sharing the show is the best way to support, so make sure you do that before we kick things off on a Wednesday.
Yeah, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter at A2Zsports.com. Got to thank our sponsors here in a second, but we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. More great Titans coverage on Instagram and TikTok. So make sure you follow us there, and we'll tweet out segment by segment on our Twitter timeline. So follow us at A to Z Sports. Our sponsors make this thing happen and make it free for you guys and help us continue to grow our show. Wilson County Hyundai, that's where you should go for your new car buying process. So see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's better coverage rates and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online with a 2-week free trial by using our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the mid-state, serving Middle Tennesseans for over 18 years in Franklin, Columbia, and in Murfreesboro. So check out KrebsKubota.com for all of your equipment needs. So, Sam, we had a different topic prepared for today, but that's okay. We can just slide it on over to tomorrow or Friday. But we do have something that we're going to tease here later on this morning about what Friday's show is going to be. So we're going to have a fun, different style show on Friday. So that is the beginning of the tease, but we'll get some more information on that here later in the show. But Sam, here we are talking DeAndre Hopkins once again, because the free agent wide receiver continuing to just take his own sweet time with his free agent status. And I think we all expected this, right? Because we talked about this update from Mike Giardi, who covers the NFL, but has a lot of really strong connections, both in Nashville with the Titans and in New England with the Patriots. This was a couple weeks ago, right? There's no rush. That there are some teams that could start to come up and could be more out there as we get closer to training camp. We're about 1 month away from training camp, and possibly a team unhappy with their wide receiver room or an injury. And that, the meetings went really well with both the Titans and the Patriots earlier this month. And so now we get an update that started to circulate yesterday of two new teams that have entered the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes. And this is coming from Pro Football Network. The Browns and the Panthers are now rumored to be in on DeAndre Hopkins after his visits to the Titans and the Patriots. Sam, the Browns and Panthers, very interesting here. So without diving too deep into everything, your initial reaction on those two teams joining the Titans and Patriots in this entire conversation?
Well, like you said, I don't think it's entirely surprising. This is part of DeAndre Hopkins' strategy of waiting around, not making a decision immediately after visiting with Tennessee and New England, allowed him more time to process his offers, figure out what else was out there, and kind of waved a flag to other NFL teams and said, hey, I'm out here, I'm floating, I'm available, come get me. So I'm not surprised to see other teams start to get in the mix. And these two teams in particular, I don't think are all that shocking. I wrote after that Mike Giardi report came out that I felt the dark horse team Titans fans needed to be worried about getting in the mix here could be Cleveland. And so now they're one of two teams with Carolina that is making a play for DeAndre Hopkins. It's certainly not that surprising to me. I don't know if it necessarily means a ton. This doesn't mean DeAndre's not coming to Nashville, but it's certainly not going to be as easy as just beating out the Patriots. There's going to be other suitors as this thing continues to drag itself out, because I don't expect him to sign maybe for another month. I don't think it'll take all the way till training camp, but if you're DeAndre Hopkins, you want to make this last as long as possible and open up as many doors for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't think it's going to be until well after the 4th of July week, that is next week. All of a sudden, I think there's some interesting spots with players in the NFL who have the franchise tag on them, where that deadline for them to sign their franchise tag or in other tenders to be signed is mid-July. So, the Titans were in a situation a couple of years ago with Derrick Henry on the franchise tag where they were seeing him looking at a $10 million cap hit on a franchise tag, but they could sign into a long-term deal, which they did, and that cap hit would go down, which would create more space, right? So what is a team out there that could have more salary cap space after something like that happens? You mentioned the Browns that you came up with after Giardi's conversation. I thought that the Buffalo Bills would be a dark horse landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins because of some weird, illogical, I guess would be the right word in my mind, tension between the Bills and also Stephon Diggs. So look, I don't know where that's at. It's apparently something that Diggs wants to be more involved in the offense as a whole and some decision-making. And so I think the Browns make a lot of sense. And I think the Panthers have an interesting connection as well. But we're still sitting here, Sam, almost a month after the Cardinals released DeAndre Hopkins, and we still truly don't know the top priority for DeAndre Hopkins in finding his next team, because all four of these teams that are now rumored all have an interesting connection. And I almost forgot another team that I think has an opportunity to find their way in here, and they've kind of been sniffing around the peripheral on this, is the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Kansas City Chiefs could do something with Chris Jones's contract that could create cap space now. And so the Chiefs could be a player in this as the summer gets deeper and as we get closer to training camps opening.
I don't expect Kansas City to get involved. I don't think that they're going to make a huge investment into Hopkins. So, I mean, if he wants to take the pay cut to go play for Patrick Mahomes, I don't think go catch balls from the best quarterback, go immediately to the playoffs and probably host an AFC championship game. I don't think anybody would blame him, but I don't think the Chiefs want to play in the market that the rest of these teams are going to need to play in. I think they want a team-friendly deal. So it'll come down to what DeAndre Hopkins feels like is more beneficial to him long-term, which goes to your point that we, at least up until now, don't know what he values more or most. Like, there's a lot of interesting, I think all four of these teams, if you lumped Carolina in with Cleveland, New England, and Tennessee, all have something slightly unique and different that they bring to the table for Hopkins.
Sure.
I think Buffalo, I think Kansas City each kind of have something different. And it's interesting that when Hopkins first gets released by Arizona, we hear, well, he wants to compete for a Super Bowl. He wants to play for a great quarterback. He wants all of these things that led everybody to assume it's Buffalo, it's KC that are the favorites to go get him. At least in the meetings that we've seen him take and the teams that appear to be the finalists here. I mean, you're looking at 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it will be really fascinating to see how Hopkins maneuvers this over the next month, and then finally get to the bottom of what exactly was the thing pulling him to his next team. Because I think the Titans, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, have a couple very unique things to offer that you could argue is better than anybody else that's showing interest in him.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to get to a few comments because this is what I think makes this DeAndre Hopkins thing so fascinating for me, because of how many different fan bases have opinions on this. And here's the funny thing is I see Jason on YouTube, who has a Chiefs helmet as his profile picture, says, I think it's between the Titans and Patriots as soon as we're talking about the Chiefs. Andre says KC is in a good spot if he wants a ring. They also want to give Mahomes better guys to catch from. Now, I will say this, and Jason knows this, who we just talked about. The Kansas City Chiefs just won a Super Bowl with their top wide receiver, not pass catcher, but top wide receiver being Juju Smith-Schuster. So they can go do whatever the hell they want, and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes can beat everybody in the NFL for a Super Bowl without somebody like DeAndre Hopkins. And then I do see Eric saying the Chiefs make more sense for D-Hop. And then Jay comes in and says, rumor is he wants the Bills. And then Kenny says, I agree. I would definitely go after Diggs before D-Hop, talking about if Stephon Diggs is not happy, then there's something else there too. But Sam, I did mention, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I can make what's funny. I mean, it's to your point, right? So all these different fans, all these different people are believing certain things, hearing certain things. They think they have an idea of what Hopkins would prefer. And yet I could sit up here if I wanted to and make legitimate counter arguments to why it wouldn't work for him with a certain team. I could point to Kansas City and say they don't have the money to offer him. So if you're Hopkins, you're not going to get, you might be taking a $5 to $10 million pay cut to go to Kansas City that you could get with one of these teams like Cleveland, maybe Tennessee, like Carolina, one of those teams. You could point to Buffalo and say, yeah, there's a fit there, there's contention there, but with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs already there, they just drafted Dalton Kincaid. How prevalent in the offense would DeAndre Hopkins be, and how good is that
to go along with Dalton Knox too, right? Like that's a lot of that's a lot of weapons.
Right. So yeah, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins. Ball can only go to one guy. So like,
but hey, then there's also the whole thing of D-Hop wants to play with Dalvin Cook, and James Cook, his brother, is already in Buffalo too. So hey, just bring the whole damn family in. And if Josh Allen, who's now being paid, wants to win a Super Bowl, that's a pretty good way to try to do it.
It is. So, I mean, but that's what we're talking about with, like, you don't know what is most important to him, because for every team, for all those same reasons that you could point to the Titans or the Patriots and say, they've got this, and that Kansas City or Buffalo don't have that. You could also say, yeah, but are the Titans winning a Super Bowl? So, where does DeAndre Hopkins want to go? What is most important for 2023?
Yeah, so these 4 teams that now are in DeAndre Hopkins allegedly, right? Because we have the new report from Pro Football Network yesterday, the Browns and Panthers now rumored to be in on DeAndre Hopkins after his visit to the Titans and Patriots. So there's 4 teams now. All 4 of these teams, Sam, have a really interesting connection to DeAndre Hopkins as Kevin Bacon. This is not even Kevin Bacon playing that game. This is like legitimate connections with DeAndre Hopkins. I'll get to all those, but first let me tell you guys about Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer serving Middle Tennessee for over 18 years. They've got 3 awesome locations across the mid-state: Murfreesboro, Franklin, and in Columbia. So if you need equipment and you need the best equipment, Krebs Kubota is the place to go. Why? Because they have the best equipment in the entire industry that is the Kubota brand. So they've got everything from big power units to small power units, whatever project you have, whether you just need a mower, just need a trimmer, maybe your yard's on a hill and you got a little tricky situation there with your current mower, you need the right mower for it. Or a trimmer. They've got that, as well as massive power units for the biggest of big projects around your property across the mid-state. And the Krebs name is how the customer service comes into play, because they do strive to have the best customer service, because it's essential to have a great relationship with your equipment provider. And Krebs Kubota does that. So you've got the warranty perks with the Kubota brand as well, and the Krebs name attached to it that will make you feel good about whatever you got to do and keep coming back for everything else in your equipment needs. Check them out online at KrebsKubota.com. Also, there are 3 locations in Franklin, Columbia, and Murfreesboro. KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use that bonus code ATOZ Sports from the bottom of your screen on the BetMGM app. And your first bet, even if it loses, can get you up to $1,000 back in bonus bet. So you place your first wager up to $1,000. You have that bonus code, and even if your bet loses, you're getting your money back in the form of a bonus bet up to $1,000. That's why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Visit BetMGM.com.
All right, Sam. So we've got this Pro Football Network report from yesterday is when this came out. Browns and Panthers are now rumored to be in on DeAndre Hopkins after his visits to the Titans and the Patriots. It is fascinating that all 4 of these teams that are rumored to be around the D-Hop sweepstakes do have very strong ties and connections to the free agent wide receiver. We've discussed already at length. The Titans have Mike Vrabel, who was a part of the Texans coaching staff for the first several years of DeAndre Hopkins' career in Houston. And then you've got Tim Kelly, who was on the offensive coaching staff in Houston and then was the offensive coordinator in Houston the last year that D-Hop was there before DeAndre Hopkins was traded to Arizona. And then Hopkins trains with Derrick Henry on the regular in Dallas in the offseason, and they clearly have a connection, as when there were joint practices last summer, Sam, in training camp, DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry spent some time together on the practice field at St. Thomas Sportspark, and we all saw that. So that the Titans connections are very deep right there. Then you've got the Patriots, where Bill O'Brien traded away DeAndre Hopkins, but it seems like they've gotten past that, and he is now the offensive coordinator up in New England after being D-Hop's head coach and play caller and GM in Houston at times. And then Bill Belichick is just somebody that D-Hop has strong respect for. And that has been discussed throughout this process as well. So those 2 teams, Sam, we know those are strong ties. But then enter Cleveland, enter Carolina. The Carolina Panthers is D-Hop's hometown team. He grew up in the Carolinas. He stayed in college in the Carolinas and went to Clemson as a highly rated 4-star wide receiver recruit that offers to go just about anywhere in the country. He stayed in the Carolinas, and that is where the Carolina Panthers are trying to rebuild with a Bryce Young Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and a coach who knows how to coach up quarterbacks in Frank Reich. And the Panthers have Adam Thielen. They're trying to rebuild. And so DeAndre Hopkins could have a lot of opportunity there and be back close to home. And the Cleveland Browns have Deshaun Watson, who together, DeAndre Hopkins made All-Pro 3 times in Houston with Deshaun Watson, also a Clemson product, in now the Cleveland Browns quarterback. So there's a lot of strong ties here, Sam, for DeAndre Hopkins. When you're in the league long enough, you know a lot of people, and that's kind of where D-Hop's at age 31.
Yeah, it's all good, all very interesting. I think the Deshaun Watson connection sticks out because anytime you make an investment into a quarterback or a player as large as Cleveland made into Deshaun Watson with the guaranteed money, I think it was $235 million, something along those lines.
Yeah, a lot.
Your entire franchise revolves around his success. Like, the Browns don't work if Deshaun Watson does not return to Deshaun Watson form in Houston. the same way the Broncos didn't work with Russell Wilson taking a step back. And so they made a big investment trading a first round pick for a head coach to bring in Sean Payton to try and bring Russell Wilson back to what we know Russell Wilson can be. And I think that's what the Cleveland Browns are doing here, or the spot that they're in. Nothing is more important than Deshaun Watson for them. Their front office is probably in a little bit of desperation mode, knowing that they have a rebuilt defense, knowing that they have Nick Chubb, one of the better running backs in the sport, knowing that they have Amari Cooper and a quarterback that they've put this big financial investment into. So DeAndre Hopkins might be the piece for them that reunites their QB with the guy he's had the most success with of any other teammate in his career, that has that fellow Clemson connection. And Cleveland has a lot of money. So like that's a connection that jumps out to me as being really strong immediately. Carolina.
Real quick on the Browns
rising.
money. The Browns have $17 million of cap space this year.
Yeah.
Next year, Sam, do you know what the Browns cap space is for 2024?
No, but I can imagine it's awful.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about the Titans will have roughly $100 million of cap space going in the next offseason. The Cleveland Browns cap space in 2024 is currently the least in the entire league. It's minus $83 million of cap space in 2024.
Is that not even more reason to make something happen now?
Right?
I mean,
is it you got 17 mil right now and you've got minus 83. So it's like a holy bleep. If you don't win now, what are you doing? And what's going to happen?
Yeah. And that contract's not going away. So you're minus 83 in the hole, and you still got $200 million left on a guaranteed contract to a quarterback that may or may not be playing at a Pro Bowl level. We'll see.
Here's just because this is a fun game. Okay. So Kevin Byard has the second largest cap hit on the Titans this season at $19.6 million. In 2024, here are the top 5 cap hits for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, $64 million. Myles Garrett, $32 million.
Hang on. We got to pause on that first number. $64 million cap hit. Wow. Okay.
So Deshaun Watson, $64 million. Take 63.97. So I'm rounding up. Myles Garrett, $32 million. I'm actually rounding down. Amari Cooper, $23.8. Denzel Ward, $23.6. Joel Bitonio, 19.6. So Kevin Byard's cap hit 19.6 this year for the Titans, the second most behind Tannehill, and then boom. Then you've got David Njoku, 18. Wyatt Teller, have you heard of him? Probably not. $17 million cap hit. Nick Chubb, $16 million cap hit.
Why? But $17 million you said for him?
For Wyatt Teller.
Yeah. Wow.
He's a guard. They've got Jack Conklin. I want to say, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's right. 10 players that have a $12 million cap hit or higher next season. So there you go. So the Browns, 17 mil cap space right now for DeAndre Hopkins. That could work because next season they're gonna have to clean up a big mess. Say what you want. We're about to get into with the Carolina Panthers before I just interrupted with that ridiculous financial situation in Cleveland.
Well, I think that spells it out even more. Like, I don't know. I originally thought a 2-year deal for Hopkins made a lot of sense for the Titans if you were going to pursue him. Could give you an opportunity because the Titans, I don't think, like, rumor is DeAndre Hopkins wants the Odell Beckham Jr. money. I think that's more than fair because Odell set the market there and Hopkins is the better player. So if I'm Hopkins, I say, well, Odell got 15 million. I should get at least 15 million. Teams like the Titans don't have 15 million to spend this year without restructuring a contract or, maneuvering their cap in some ways. So I thought a 2-year deal might make sense. I feel like Hopkins is probably more inclined to take a 1-year deal. And so knowing that, that's good news for somebody like Cleveland who can say, hey, we'll give you the money now. You can, go be a free agent next offseason, and we can maximize our window before we have all these cap hits cut. So I just think it gives them more reason to build for 2023 and do whatever they can to make sure that this year's team is a winner.
Yeah, for sure. And so Carolina does have money this year and next year. Carolina's in a spot where they've got ability because of the Bryce Young rookie contract. They've got, 3 to 4 years of cheap quarterback play to be able to build around. So if DeAndre Hopkins wants longer term stability, Carolina does make sense, right? Of the 4 teams we're talking about, Cleveland, Tennessee, New England, and Carolina, Carolina has the best long term outlook for a landing spot as of right now. So let's go. Billy says, hey, I'm late mowing early. Well, I'm glad you got your mower out there early. It's going to be hot as hell out there today. But maybe Billy can hit up Krebs Kubota for the next mower. So Sam, I know you're excited about the heat later.
Yeah.
Sam, let's ask this question. Let's ask this question to the audience, because I don't think Carolina is a legitimate contender at this point. I just think they're too far away from winning, even though they do have more money to spend. I just don't think that's the situation. I do think we can say the Browns are a realistic threat of an attractive place for DeAndre Hopkins. So let's throw this question out here. Who would be a better landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins, the Titans or the Browns? Who would be a better landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins, the Titans or the Browns? So we'll get to your comments here shortly, but I'm going to first tell everybody about the Aura app, because I signed up with the Aura app in April, and in just like 5 or 6 days, they made my life a lot easier, because that is where you should go to for all of your internet safety. And so when data brokers get your information, they just sell it everywhere to spammers, robocallers, junk mailers, telemarketers. And so when you sign up with Aura, and if you use our link, aura.com/ATOZ, you get a 2-week free trial. And so if you sign up with Aura, those data brokers will be removed from your life, as Aura will automatically opt out of any of those lists for you on your behalf. You don't have to do any work but sign up with Aura, which takes all of 2.5 to 3 minutes. And start that process by going to aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial. I've done it. Sam's done it. Zach's done it. Our Nashville sales representative, Andrew, has done it. So we're building this thing out, man, and everybody's enjoying what the perks are with Aura. So aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial for all of your internet safety to make your life just a little bit easier. Aura.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Make every game and every play mean much more with BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Find that first wager, place your bet with BetMGM, and use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, and you can get your money back up to $1,000 if your bet loses. That's the best way to do sports betting and gambling with the king of sportsbooks. Wouldn't want to go anywhere else. So find your pick, find your game with BetMGM and the BetMGM app.
All right, Sam. So we're asking which team would be a better landing spot for free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins, as the Cleveland Browns have entered the chat here, and the Carolina Panthers, according to Pro Football Network and their report yesterday. So I'll send you to the chat there, Sam, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch here on A to Z Sports. Which team would be a better landing spot for D-Hop, the Titans or the Browns?
Stephen King says it's the Browns. Ethan says it's the Titans. Titans, Kyle, probably the Browns. We've got Titans, of course, from Paul. Titans from Tighten Up. Tennessee, 100% from Mr. Jones. Jason says he'd take the Browns because of Watson. Eric says it's the Browns. Deborah says it's the Titans. Eric says it's the Titans. Jay says the Titans. Tyler says the Browns because he knows the quarterback. MB says Titans because the Browns are the Browns and will always be a mess. Eddie says the Titans. Kenny says the Titans. We've got Titans from the Sports Star, Titans from Jay, Titans from Dustin. We've got Watson over Tannehill from Eric, who thinks it's the Browns. So we got, let's see what else we got here. I'm trying to scroll down. Titans from Sportstar, the Jets from Troy going off script saying the Jets are the best fit. Think it's an overwhelming majority for the Titans. A couple people saying the Browns in there. Austin, where do you lie? Better fit for D-Hop, Tennessee or Cleveland?
I think it's the Titans still. I think with the Browns, there's a lot of desperation with Cleveland, as we talked about. They have $17 million of cap space this year, but minus $83 million in 2024. I just think even with Deshaun Watson being back, he only played in 6 games last season, just threw for a little under 200 yards per game at 183. He did not exactly have a great return. Now, he was out of football for quite some time. We all know the well-documented allegations and civil cases on Deshaun Watson the last couple of years. But in those 6 games, he was sacked 20 times. And it's not like the Browns were just rid of talent. Like, they had Amari Cooper, who went for 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns last season. Donovan Peoples-Jones is a really good wide receiver. David Njoku, Nick Chubb, they've got weapons out there. And so even with all of that, the Browns were a 4th place, last place team in a very competitive division in the AFC North. And so I just think that if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, I think the Browns are attractive because of my relationship that I have with Deshaun Watson and the success that they have had in Houston. I just feel like there's too much desperation there for me to feel comfortable with signing up for what is most likely a 1-year situation, and then I'm out doing this again. And maybe that's what D-Hop wants. I don't know. But when we go back to his wish list from the spring, stable management. Nobody is calling the Browns stable when it comes to their front office. There's a lot of moving pieces. The owner is erratic, and we can say that because he is a Tennessee booster who meddles too much in the Vols athletic department, and now he's got his new toy with the Browns, and again, minus $83 million in cap space kind of tells you that. Now, I do think Deshaun Watson loves football, but there's a lot of other things going around with him. And then there's also the situation of the championship defense. The Browns defense is in a good spot. I just think there's too much desperation, and the links and connections with the Titans, with Vrabel, Tim Kelly, Derrick Henry, and then Tannehill. I think right now, Tannehill is, you know what you're going to get from Tannehill this year more than what you think you're going to get from Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's still a wild card. Like, you don't just take a couple years off and jump back into where you were. Ask other players who have had hiatuses for whatever reason in the NFL. You'll lose it pretty quick. Now, the quarterback position is more cerebral, so you can bring it back. But I still think being out of the game, you lose that cerebral thing there too. So I say the Titans are a better fit than the Browns at this point. But the Browns are absolutely a serious contender here.
I think it's pretty close. But I think if I'm making a list of pros and cons, like you said, and I'm listing out the potential versus the floor of each situation and kind of factoring in everything, I do feel like the Browns are the better fit for Hopkins right now. They have the money to pay him for 1 year in a way that the Titans don't right now. They have the quarterback that he's familiar with. You don't really have to spend a ton of time getting on the same page as your QB. We know how important the trust and those relationships are to players, and Hopkins and Watson already have that. I do think Cleveland is more of a championship contender in 2023 than the Titans are. And we know D-Hop wants to win. I think he has an opportunity to go and still get majority target share and be a number 1 option while also being surrounded by talent that makes his life easier. You come and play for the Titans, you're the guy, but you're also, barring a huge breakout from Treylon Burks, we'll see what Treylon Burks is. You're also kind of on an island as far as being an established wide receiver, and you're going to command a lot of attention. You're kind of freed up to get your numbers when you've got Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Elijah Moore kind of being second, third, and fourth fiddle to you in an offense while you're still the guy. They have the running game with Nick Chubb. They have the defensive front that they've kind of rebuilt this year with a lot of good free agent additions. I just feel like that situation is a little bit more complete. And I think a one-year scenario, a one-year situation is what's best for DeAndre Hopkins, who I think has to prove something to a lot of teams because he was out with the suspension last year and he missed that time. So the numbers don't exactly jump out at you. And I think having 1 year where he can put up some production as one of the better receivers in the league will give a little bit of reassurance and confidence in him around the league to then revisit this situation and maybe get a bigger deal from a team that's going to be a perennial Super Bowl contender next offseason when he's a free agent and not just being released in the middle of the summer. So
yeah,
I think a 1 year situation is what's best for him. And Cleveland's desperation, I think, is actually really good for that 1 year window.
All right, so we're on opposite sides of this. Both teams were 7-10 last season. The Titans, we know, one went away from a playoff AFC South championship with the Jags game in the last week of the season, and then the Browns 7-10, but they were last place in that division. So, Sam, I just think you think. Just kind of clarify your take. I don't want to misrepresent what you said. The Browns as a contender for a championship.
I believe the Browns are more of a contender for a championship than Tennessee. Yes.
Okay. So as far as like Super Bowl potential, I don't disagree. I just feel like the Browns
division's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. The Titans have a way easier route to making the playoffs than the Browns do.
Fair.
Just because but again, like who has more Super Bowl capabilities? I think it's the Browns, but again, like the Steelers were 9-8 last year with Kenny Pickett and in a new situation, and they were still a couple wins better than the Browns. Now I know Deshaun only played in 6 games, but he wasn't very good either. The Ravens were 10-7, even with Lamar missing the back half of the season, and we all know the Bengals with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, and the rest of their offense and their improving defense. They're not going away, and
Cleveland went 3-3 in the 6 games that Deshaun Watson played without him playing very well. And like I said, I think their defense got a lot better. So if he is Houston Deshaun, I think they're really good. I mean, that's a really, really good roster. Zach and I talked about this the other day when we were talking about the power rankings. They're listed in the top 10 in a lot of power rankings in the back half of the top 10, which we felt was a little strong for a team that you don't know for sure what the quarterback is. But I mean, if Deshaun is the guy we saw him be in Houston for 4 years, I think the Browns could make a real case at the AFC North.
I think the Browns are a wild card team at best. Now, I think the Titans are either a AFC South champion or out of the playoffs. And so that's just the kind of nuances of what the AFC playoff race is going to be like. And I just don't see the Browns winning the North at all. So anyway, with or without DeAndre Hopkins, they've got plenty of weapons to do it without him. So, his margin is not as wide of improvement for the Browns as it is the Titans, I feel like. So again, look, I do think the Browns are a legitimate spot for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't want Keith, who thinks I'm a casual and biased towards the Titans. Because I think the Titans are a better spot for him doesn't mean I don't think the Browns are. I think the Browns are a good spot. I just think for what D-Hop is looking for, the Titans are where he can have the biggest impact this season. So let's ask this question, Sam. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to say one other thing too, because I see some blowback coming from the chat with Devin, with Lewis, a lot of people if you don't think the Cleveland Browns are contenders in 2023, I don't think you're paying attention. like, I don't think you're paying attention to rosters. I don't think you're paying attention to like the guys on the defensive line that they've added. Like I feel like you're seeing the name Cleveland Browns. You're seeing Deshaun Watson underperforming last year and saying, yeah, they'll never be good. I think they have one of the more talented rosters in football. The quarterback is a question mark. I don't like the head coach. I do actually agree with Lewis that Stefanski, not a fan of him. I think he does remind me of Brandon Staley, who I think also stinks. But you can win in the regular season.
Win a Coach of the Year?
Yeah, I think he did. But so did Matt Nagy. So
that's bingo. That's where I was going to go. I feel like Kevin Stefanski smells like Matt Nagy. It's like there's early success that they had in their first couple of years, and then they could not break through. Mike Vrabel's also NFL Coach of the Year. He's got to get things figured out on the next level of what the Titans look like outside of their original core when Vrabel took over.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, and I get it. The AFC North is stacked. I think Pittsburgh's bad. I don't love Baltimore. I could see Baltimore not being very good easily because despite the fact that they signed Odell Beckham Jr. to a $15 million deal, who, by the way, stinks. Odell Beckham is washed. Like, what are we doing? They don't have wide receivers. They don't have weapons. So, like, I don't know. I think it's more wide open than people think. Cincinnati's obviously the odds-on favorite. The argument that you would make against the Browns is the fact that they're in the AFC and like wild cards are going to be hard to come by. But I think writing them off in the name of Watson is washed after like 6 underwhelming games and we don't like the head coach isn't paying enough attention to the details of their roster, which is really, really, really talented.
I think and this is another show, but the AFC wild card contenders, let's just say that the divisional winners from a year ago that are the favorites are, let's just say they're going to win the division for exercise purposes. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, and the Jags. The AFC wild card contenders loaded. The Chargers, the Ravens, and the Dolphins, plus the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the Browns, who we've been talking about, and year 2, Sean Payton included Denver Broncos, who I do not think will be as bad as 5-12 a year ago. That doesn't include the Titans, who I think should be better than they were a year ago because of they can't be injured this much 3 years in a row, can they? Maybe don't say that out loud. But I think that is just the wild ridiculousness of the AFC. And I think that the Browns are more likely to be out of the playoffs than they are to win the North. I think a few of those teams are good.
I think a few of those teams are going to take a big step back, though. I mean, they have to, right? But
somebody's going. Yes.
Zach and I were talking about it. I think the Chargers might suck. I think they might be really bad. I think
bad.
Miami,
I mean, but again, if the Chargers drop off, then the Broncos probably inch up. So there's going to be something like if the Ravens drop off, then okay, there's room for the Browns to jump up.
I think the Ravens
are going to drop off, but the Jets, who?
Yeah, I think those are all realistic, though. All three of those.
Yeah, but I just mentioned like there's another team in their division that could replace them easily, and I think the Browns are in a tough spot overall. But anyway, let's keep the thing going here and ask this question: what is the Titans' strongest pro for trying to sign DeAndre Hopkins? So if you're making your pro con list on your legal pad, what is the number one thing you put down on the pro side for the Tennessee Titans in their attempt to sign DeAndre Hopkins? So we'll do that. But Sam, you can tell us all about the pros, no cons, that you get with the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute is the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. You have to know who you can trust. When you get hurt in life, you can visit them over at boneandjointtn.org. The Bone and Joint Institute is located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help with your recovery, and it's all under the same roof, all in one spot, so no driving all over Middle Tennessee to go to your different appointments. You can do it all at the same location for your convenience: imaging, testing, research, the clinic. It's all there at the Bone and Joint Institute out in Franklin. So schedule an appointment with our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute at boneandjointtn.org.
And with BetMGM, you can always win big with our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That means you get your first bet offer is nice. So you got to go big with that first bet offer because you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. You also can swing for prizes every day throughout the Major League Baseball season. I haven't done it yet, but yesterday I got a $20 insurance bet. So I missed my baseball parlay last night, but I got a $20 bonus bet for it. So no sweat there with BetMGM. That's bonus code ATOZ Sports for your first bet offer to get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets. If your first bet misses, visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, other requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued in knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire in 7 days. And for problem game sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Sam, I'll let you go to the chat. The question now is, if you're making a pro-con list for the Titans, what's the number one thing on the Titans pro list? We're going to leave the cons out of it for now. Maybe we'll come back to that on a different day. But the number one item on the Titans pro column.
Jay says the AFC South has the easier path, which is a big pro, easy way to get to the playoffs. Scott says it's Vrabel. Mr. Jones says familiarity. Nick says Tim Kelly. Steven says it's the AFC South division. Jason says Vrabel. Deshaun, AFC South. Eric says it's a stable organization. Bork says it's the coaching staff. We have the easiest division to win and get to the playoffs from Cameron Strong. Defense and division from Eric. AFC South from Ethan Green. Derrick Henry. Best running back in the NFL from Nate's Burner. AFC South, and it's Nashville. So maybe a little bit of a city draw there from Jay.
No, the city will never be the biggest reason.
I agree, because you're
that's a
DeAndre
secondary
Hopkins.
Complimentary bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, you're also like, how much do you really get to go out and enjoy the city when you're DeAndre Hopkins? Like, does Ryan Tannehill get to go hit Broadway and go to Jason's and be like, oh, Nashville's the best? No. So, like, I don't know. You can't really, when you're that famous, you can't really like go out in the city and enjoy it too much. You're just there for work.
Yeah.
Like contract flexibility and path to the playoffs, the solid defense, familiarity with the coaching staff, leaders all over the field. Derrick Henry, the king and the coach, familiarity. Nashville, Tennessee, no state income taxes. So there you go with why the state could and the city could be a factor from Billy Jones. Yeah. One-on-ones on the outside from Mr. Jones because the attention is on Henry. Money, just in general, money. But the Titans, I don't know if they can give him the most money. So I don't know. So, Austin, what is your pro that you're kind of putting a little star next to on your pros cons list here?
Yeah, I was just looking up the state of Ohio income tax rate. It's pretty significant, especially when Tennessee has 0. The Massachusetts is pretty significant as well. I'm not familiar with North Carolina's as much, but yeah, that is a pro. But I think if I'm saying the number one item on the pro column for the Tennessee Titans is the coaches, plural. Because it is Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly's familiarity with, we know what this guy is as an all-pro, and we've seen how to use him to have him be an all-pro. And like Deshaun Watson can say that in Cleveland, but he's not the play caller. He's not the head coach. Bill O'Brien can say that in New England. But then there's Mac Jones. And then the Carolina Panthers, I think, are just significantly fourth. But I think the Tennessee Titans have the best ability to put DeAndre Hopkins in a spot to win route to route, series to series, week to week, to where that will have a big opportunity for the Titans to make the playoffs. So I'd say singularly, the number one pro is coaches. That's my answer.
Yeah, when I look at a pro, if I'm the Titans, Mike Vrabel said he wasn't going to pitch, he wasn't going to recruit, but I think you have to. And
I
I
don't
think
buy
you
that.
have to find something that you have, huh?
I don't buy the Mike Vrabel saying we only want people that are going to be here. We're not going to recruit. I've recruited already my day at Ohio State.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're
bull.
recruiting a free agent like this. You're trying to sell him, but you have to
Yes.
find things that are unique to you. The same way Nick Saban takes a recruit down and says, "Look at all those national championship trophies. Look at all those names of guys that are playing in the league. Do you want to play for Alabama?" You have to find something that separates you. And for the Titans, I don't think it's money. I don't even think it's a connection to the coaching staff or familiarity, because he's got connections to Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. He's got a lot of love and respect for Bill Belichick and a connection to Bill O'Brien in New England. So what do the Titans have that nobody else has? To me, it is target share and the opportunity to put up numbers. I think if I'm DeAndre Hopkins put into this situation over the summer, my goal is to establish value. And I saw Devin say reestablish value. What are you talking about earlier? If DeAndre Hopkins comes out and has a really big, he's not going to get paid $20 million a year over three or 4 years right now. It's not going to happen. He's not going to get a ton of guaranteed money on a long-term deal with his current situation. If he comes out and has a huge 1,400, 1,500 yard season, can prove to be that he's like, can show people I'm still a number one, and puts up his numbers, he's going to get paid next offseason and is going to have his pick of just about any team in the league. So if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, I'm saying, how can I get my numbers going into next offseason in a spot that I enjoy playing at? I think he likes Mike Vrabel, and that will certainly be a factor of, hey, I like it here, but he's there to get his numbers and to get his targets from a quarterback that is reliable. And New England, you might be able to be the guy, but there is Juju Smith-Schuster. You don't really know what Mac Jones is at all, if they can even be competent throwing the football. Everywhere else seems to have, like, Cleveland has Amari Cooper and a lot of other weapons. Carolina has Adam Thielen and a rookie quarterback that's unproven. Tennessee has the veteran that can throw you good, accurate footballs regularly, and that you can get 8 targets a game. So that would be something that if I'm the Titans, I pitch heavily is, you're our guy to get all of these looks in our offense if you come here.
Yeah, I think what you said there, opportunity, target share, however you want to coin it, that would be number 2 on my list. And I think the reason why I have the coaches number 1 is because the coaches can then set up the plan to execute what you just said, right? And so, look, I think that's a good thing for the Tennessee Titans. And I agree with where you're at.
The Derrick Henry thing, makes a difference as well. Like, teams know how to stop the Titans is by, stacking the box, paying extra attention to Derrick Henry between the tackles. Tajay Spears is fascinating as a running back that could potentially command some attention from a lot of linebackers running routes out of the backfield. So what does that do for a guy that's as good as a route runner with great hands like DeAndre Hopkins in one-on-one situations, and a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill that's just looking for somebody reliable he can look to, three times a series. So that's what D-Hop has here, potentially a lot of one-on-ones and a quarterback that's always staring him down.
All right, Sam, real quick, Marvin says Austin and Sam are afraid to get to the cons. They know what's coming. We're not afraid. It's just I don't think we have time to do that today. But hey, Sam, you want to plan the show for tomorrow? Right now?
Plan the show for tomorrow? All right.
Yeah, we'll just plan it. We'll do what Marvin's saying we're afraid to do tomorrow. Our second topic tomorrow will be the cons, the number 1 con about the Titans for DeAndre Hopkins. And then our lead tomorrow will be the other thing we talked about doing earlier in the week. So we'll keep the lead a secret, but we'll do this Titans con will be our second conversation for Marvin tomorrow. And then look, Kane's already mad at us. His super chat, the show topic's extremely low. 31 other teams he could go to. Whoever makes the best offer, he will go to. So the D-Hop news is dead until it isn't. Well, Kane, if you want to DM us on Twitter where you'd like to complain about our show topics, you can feel free to come up with some.
I mean, I think he's correct in the sense whoever makes the best offer is who he will go to, but I don't think the best offer is necessarily financial compensation. I don't think, and players will, if you offer me 15 million, Austin, and somebody else offers me 16, but I want to go with you, I'll tell you, hey, up it to 16 and I'm coming your way. Like so what is the
There's
best offer?
details. Yeah.
The attention to detail matters. And so that's what we're discussing is what would set a team apart if all of these teams are in the same neighborhood financially. Obviously, he's not going to take, a $2 million contract with Cleveland or with Kansas City when he's got 15 million on the table from Carolina or somebody else. So we're paying attention to the details here, Kane.
Keith says the number one con of this stream is Austin's extreme bias takes. Look, I appreciate you, Keith. I don't think I'm biased. I just think I think the Titans are a really good option for DeAndre Hopkins, and I've been saying that for months.
I do too. I like them over New England, and I like the Titans over Carolina. I think they're the second best option, but I've been on the Cleveland fit for a while as being the team that makes the most sense. So I really think that, and that's why I wrote that article last week about why the Titans should be worried about the Browns, is I think they're the only team with a better case than the Titans do.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Sam, it is time for shade. In my shade, I am prepared. It involves the Tennessee Titans. Keith, you're using the wrong when you're coming at me for being biased. But my shade is going to, I think, open some eyes to some people. And I'm also tasking the audience to help us out with my shade. So we'll get this throwing shade. So get your shade here in the chat today, and we'll wrap up this Wednesday with throwing shade like we always do. Let's Throwing shade presented by Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or online. Our friend Payne Bone, check them out, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. We always throw shade to wrap up the show on Wednesday. Keith will probably continue to throw shade at me for being biased. Philip, real quick, says, has some super chat, says D-Hop and Julio Jones have a close relationship, maybe closer than Henry. I'm concerned Julio's opinion of the Titans could be a tipping point. Look, I mean, that's fair comment. I don't know if it's what weight it has, but I think, something to be on the outside looking in of this conversation. Who else could have an impact in DeAndre Hopkins' ear is there. So Sam, I'll let you start with some shade if you want to hit some shades from the comments or start off with your own before I get to mine.
Yeah, shade. My shade. I'll come off the top with one of my shades. This is so frustrating. I do this regularly. I got to start writing things down because I had a shade that popped into my head earlier this week, and I'm like, oh, I'm so throwing shade Wednesday, and it went. So I don't know, but I do have one. I'm gonna shade Ole Miss. Ole Miss Rebels fans, and because I was told that the Jello shot record would never be broken. I was told the Jello shot record would never be broken, and it got 2x'd by LSU. So LSU puts up nearly 50,000 Jello shots at the College World Series as like the final total. So shade on Ole Miss because you guys really thought you were doing something, and yeah, good luck getting 50,000 ever again. Second shade regarding the College World Series is shade on Curt Schilling / any college baseball fan that was watching the game that wanted Paul Skeens to throw the championship game. Absolutely ridiculous take. A guy that threw 120 pitches once, got 3 days rest, threw 120 pitches again, and you want him to go out and throw again when he's going to be the number 2 pick in the MLB draft here in a couple of weeks. Absolutely mind-bogglingly stupid. No, Paul Skeens should not have thrown that championship game. Luckily, LSU won anyway for him. But yeah, that rubs me the wrong way. People are like, oh, kids these days, they've got no grit. They won't throw 130 pitches 3 days after throwing 120 pitches. I just think it's stupid. So shade on those people and shade on Curt Schilling and shade on Ole Miss.
Yeah, Kurt Schilling can catch a lot of shade, for sure. All right, so shade coming from the chat before we get to mine. Mine is Titans fake media shade, so get ready for that. Here, I was going to go where had a couple to start with. Here, Kenny says shade going on 4 days with no power. Oh, and it's not a good time of the year to not have power. And
I
then
would
I
have
also
moved out.
yeah, I also say Bork says shade on downstairs AC going out and it taking the AC company nearly 2 weeks now to get the needed part in, especially when they told me it would be in this past Monday. That is also pretty rough as well. American Toff says shade to this show for the volume of the Throw in Shade theme song. It scares my dog every time it plays. Come on, A to Z, lower the volume. I'll have to go back and see if I can find the original file so I can edit down the volume because I think that's fair. See, here, the funny thing is, I don't hear it. It's the one audio that we play that I don't hear every time.
Oh, I hear it. It does
I
startle
don't hear.
me as well.
Okay, well,
It
maybe
is
I'll,
pretty loud.
maybe it's a summer project on that. So more shade coming in here on this. Colin says shade on spending personal money on super chats just to slam you guys. I have to come up with like 250 topics daily. Yes, thank you, Colin. But hey, if you want to keep giving us super chats, we're fine with that. But yeah, super chats
We
just to slam
encourage
us.
it, actually. We
Yes,
encourage
we
the
do.
super
I'm
chats.
cool with that. I'm cool with that. All right, Sam, my shade is on fake media, and I saw this about a month or so ago. Sam, I think we have an artificial intelligence Titans YouTube channel that is just spewing the most AI nonsense in YouTube content, and it found its way into my YouTube feed. So here is the channel, Tennessee Titans News. Hello, Titans fans. Welcome to the Tennessee Titans News Express. That is their description. They joined April 18th of this year, so it's just a couple, 2 or 3 months old. So this started making its way into my feed because of all the Titan stuff we do. And I'm like, look at this, at the ridiculous holy AI content that this is putting out. First, bottom right, Kevin Byard, he is out, not worth it. What that is nothing. He is out, latest news with Ryan Tannehill. Then there's a Chargers player. He's on the way. No, he's not. Who? Nobody. Then there's another screen here too of Tier Tart with a backwards PNG flip. He is out. No. Then you've got he just came out with a Florida State player that looks like Dalvin Cook from 8 years ago. That's ridiculous. Get out now. A new Titans QB on the way with a picture of Colt McCoy. That's not right. And then there's a Teddy Bridgewater is coming to the Titans. And then like, what is all this stuff? Like, it's ridiculous. And if you watch it, which I have, unfortunately, because I was like, what is this? They're like 2.5 minute, 3 minute clips of an AI deep voice just saying nonsensical things about the Titans like it's factual news. So my task to you guys is just to go report this account as spam because this is dangerous. Like this is, and it's out of Brazil. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And I think AI is interesting, but with somebody just doing an AI experiment from Brazil and just throwing up NFL news, like this is just something because people watch these things if they've got views, and I'm just
There's
like,
a
what
decent amount of views on some of those.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was something else. I mean, there's a lot of videos that I could just scroll through of like of the content that is. And it's just not even close to being anything real or accurate.
Devin says AI going to ruin the world. He's not being funny. You're preaching to the choir, Devin. I watched Ex Machina the other day, and I am woke to the AI. I am anti-AI. I've never been more anti-AI in my life than watching Ex Machina last week. So yeah, I think it's messed up. It all scares me. I don't like it. And at least this one is like, throw it up again. Throw up some of these things
Yeah.
here.
This
Like
is this channel, right? Tennessee
the
Titans
like
news.
the non-human. Where is it? Here it is. This one. Look at the DeAndre Hopkins one. Now here comes exclamation point, ultimate news. Like it doesn't even like sound like it's not even English. That's not coherent.
I know it's
So
because
at
it's out of
least
Brazil. That's my point.
that helps me a little bit because it not being coherent, I'm like, oh, okay, that's less scary.
Sam,
But yeah,
there was
AI
one.
terrifies me.
There was one that said Marcus Peters signed with the Titans,
Hey,
and I'm like,
maybe
what? Like
AI knows something we don't.
maybe, but again,
Maybe.
it's report that please. And so again, I'm going to share. This is again the channel. If you're on YouTube and you watch us on YouTube, like a lot of you guys do, which we appreciate. Report this channel as spam because it is absolutely AI and it's so dumb. So that is
The
my
only
shade.
the only AI I approve of is the one that will type out stuff for me when I can play
Yeah,
a
like
video.
transcribing things, right?
If it can transcribe it, I love it.
Yeah,
Other than
yeah,
that, get it out of my face. I don't want to see it. Same thing with
yeah.
robotics. Shut down the robotics companies. Cancel them. We don't need robots. Stop. I hate it. Boston Robotics is now doing robots that can dance together and have artificial intelligence plugged into them. What happens when dancing robot wants to mess everybody up in the Boston robot? Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, I just became self-aware robot, right? We don't want
Yeah,
that.
right.
All right, guys. All right, that'll wrap it up for this Wednesday morning. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8. Buck Rising Live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. Make sure on the way out, hit that like button. We'd greatly appreciate that. We need that like. I was going to tease what our Friday show was, but I forgot. So we'll tease what our Friday show is going to be tomorrow. So my bad on that. But hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate you guys as always, and see you tomorrow.